25 years ago, the Technology Forum started as a relatively small event in Altbach's elementary school. Since then, the number of participants has grown to more than 1,000 from all over the world. Hundreds of them are still drawn to the school to attend the working groups, nowadays held in Altbach's secondary school. One of the main topics in the working groups this year was integrity in science.
We've had presentations from individuals from different walks of life, affording different perspectives on research integrity, how to promote it, whether education plays a role, how serious it is, what sort of governance ought to be in place to regulate, and so forth.
There certainly should be some sort of national bodies in countries which oversee the research, much like in the USA for the NIH-sponsored research.
Another topic was the myths surrounding the life sciences and their consequences. The working groups mean work in small groups, as well as intensive talks on the terrace, combining work and fun.
The participants dealing with the topic of research and economics developed ways for basic research to achieve added economic value.
The working group was about technology transfer, technology development. How do universities and academic institutions organize themselves and manage these activities to benefit the public and to generate new sources of revenues for the institutions.
Strategies and financial models concerning the governance of applied research were shown, and think tanks in Austria were discussed, providing also an international overview.
Was to try to provide an overview of how think tanks work in the United States and a variety of ways in which they carry out their missions and evaluate their results, ways in which they keep themselves independent, but also establish trust with their clients in the government.
The changing world of work, especially the increasing pressure for innovation on people and the economy, was dealt with. Furthermore, it was discussed how progress in electronic data processing enhances technological opportunities in healthcare. The discussions concerning gender mainstreaming in research and development focuses on women power, not only on the podium, but also in the audience.
My main topic is to tell about the Norwegian gender balance rules on company boards, because we have introduced this demand by law in 2003, and that's quite a radical step we have made. It used to be less than 10%. Today there are almost 40% women on company boards in Norway, and that's a radical measure and a radical improvement.
On the topic of transport and the environment, air traffic was discussed, and the following problems were identified.
Of course, the things that have to be done on the regulatory side are important, such as the single European sky, the detours and holding patterns that we fly. Just because Europe is completely divided with regard to air traffic control, this is just one of the topics.
Climate change and the future of transport were also discussed.
In the future, mobility cannot be discussed as being important only for individual transport or only for the railways. One has to look at the whole thing as a system, including fuel or actually energy suppliers, since in the future we will have completely different forms of energy.
And those particular effects are a change in modes, from expensive modes to less expensive modes because of the increase in fuel, and also a shrinking of the supply chains. Supplier footprints are moving from China. There is a movement of supplier footprints from China to Mexico or the Caribbean for the U.S. market.
Energy efficiency was also dealt with. Are we running out of oil?
Die Steinzeit ist nicht durch einen Mangel an Steinen zu Ende gegangen.
The Stone Age didn't end because people ran out of stones. And in the same way, from the geological point of view, we will not run out of oil. I think that we, as a society, will have switched to alternative forms of energy long before we run out of the geological reserves of oil.
Des Öls ausgehen werden.
To perceive problems jointly, find clarity, cut the Gordian knot, and thus facilitate the decision-making process for policymakers and economic decision-makers. All this constitutes the working groups and has made them for years one of the most important parts of the Technology Forum.